8 people are dead after multiple shootings in Atlanta. 6 victims are Asian descent. Now local advocates are speaking out about the violence. Our Shannon Lilly tells us how the pandemic has had an impact on discrimination against Asian Americans.
I actually wrote it right after I got back from the park that day. I remember being totally shaken and just in tears. And the only thing I could think of to kind of be constructive in that moment was to put it in writing.
Justin Lowe still remembers the way he felt when he was confronted in a Churchill Park because of his race.
As I was crossing the street, a gentleman just started yelling at me, specifically me and nobody else in the park, to stay away from him because I could kill everybody in the park, is what he said. As he was yelling at me to keep away from him, he then asked me if I spoke any English.
Lowe documented his experience in a Richmond Times-Dispatch op-ed published in April, but it wouldn't be the last time he and other members of his community would be targeted.
Crime against any community is a crime against us all.
In Atlanta, 8 people are dead after police say a man went on a shooting rampage at 3 Georgia spas. 6 of the 8 victims are Asians.
He does claim that it was not racially motivated.
While investigators are still working to determine whether or not that's true, Eric Lynn, vice president of finance for the OCA, Asian Pacific American Advocates, says it's a jarring escalation to something they've already been seeing.
For the last, 4 or 5 years, there's been a narrative that the immigrant communities are kind of, others in our society.
Lynn says that narrative has only escalated since the pandemic began. A coalition called Stop AAPI Hate works to track incidents of violence and harassment against Asian Americans. In their latest review, they document nearly 3,800 incidents reported to them from across the country since March of 2020, with Virginia sitting just above Georgia as one of the top states for incidents reported. Lowe, who was appointed to Governor Northam's Asian Advisory Board in 2019, believes those numbers are probably much higher.
When you're talking about a community that doesn't want to talk about these issues or has learned to not talk about them, I think you have an even harder time kind of understanding the scope of the problem. And I think now is a time more than ever for all of us to stand united in our fight against racism in all of its forms.
And that was Shannon Lilly reporting. Governor Northam and Attorney General Mark Herring also issued statements condemning the rise of violence against Asian Americans in our communities. In the meantime, Lowe is encouraging those who have experienced harassment and discrimination to speak out and report it.